welcome to The Firm. On the show this week, SEBI imposes tough new restrictions on related party transactions. That and more on the new Clause 49. And will the global merger of cement giants Holcim and Lafarge face a tax bill here in India? Our top story this week, India's new Clause 49. Clause 49, yes, it's that clause in the listing agreement that first ushered in corporate governance norms in India. That was in 2000. This year, we have a new Clause 49 that not only aligns SEBI's corporate governance norms with those laid out in the Companies Act 2013, but in some cases even goes beyond. Payaswini Upadhyay reports on the top 3 changes.
Excessive promoter remuneration, higher royalties to foreign parent companies, loans to wholly owned subsidiaries at low interest rates, intra-group transfers. Time and again, minority shareholders have been shortchanged in such related party transactions by companies and their managements. The Companies Act 2013 has sought to address this by mandating that all related party transactions need audit committee approval. SEBI's new Clause 49 adds prior approval.
In the case of the SEBI guidelines now, even if a transaction is in the ordinary course of business and at arm's length, that still has to be pre-approved by the audit committee, of course assuming it's material. But the pre-approval is going to cause enormous difficulties because in a lot of cases subsidiaries are spread all over the world. I am myself on the board of a company which has 57 or so subsidiaries spread in various countries in very distant places from India, and pre-approving related party transactions between the parent and those subsidiaries, whether they are at arm's length or not, I just can't, I can't imagine how it's going to be done, but a way will have to be found.
The Companies Act requires all related party transactions not in ordinary course of business and not at arm's length to be approved via special resolution. SEBI says all material related party transactions need approval via special resolution. The Companies Act defines related party transactions mostly in connection to directors, relatives and key managerial personnel. SEBI extends the definition to include those in control or joint control or having significant influence.
Concept of control, we know, has been subject to quite a lot of issues. So if you were to take a scenario where an entity has a small shareholding in another company, and if they have board rights, negative veto rights, so on and so forth, those contractual rights may also give rise to an element of control. So what this does is it gives room for a lot of interpretation, discretion to be exercised by SEBI, which may then be subject to review by appellate authorities and so on. So I see this giving rise to a lot more interpretational issues and disputes than the Companies Act does, which is more clear and streamlined.
SEBI's related party definition extends to entities related to a company if they are members of the same group, if one entity is an associate or joint venture of the other, and if both entities are joint ventures of the same third party.
In a two-party joint venture, if it's a contract between the company and say one of the shareholders, you can identify. But what if it is a party contract between two joint ventures? Who is the counterparty, whose vote has to be taken on one side and whose vote has to be taken on the other side? You can never be into a situation where no vote has to be taken. So when there's a majority-minority kind of situation or a promoter and a minority, the concept of who is the party who's related is very clear. But if the only two shareholders are on counterparties, then who will vote? Whose vote will you take? If, for example, let's take a hypothetical, like take an example that one partner is G and the other partner is SBI. Then, and let's assume that there are two joint ventures in such a situation, that one where G has the majority and the other one where the SBI has the majority. Now, if there's a contract between two joint ventures and in one of them is a related party and the other one, the majority is the counterparty, what vote will take place?
listed companies would feel the pinch in executing related party transactions, not just on account of a wider definition, but also because of an element of retrospectivity that the new Clause 49 brings in. It says all existing material related party transactions that are likely to continue beyond March 31st, 2015 will need shareholder approval by a special resolution.
If the contract has been entered into and it is an executed contract partially, in the sense is a contract which is part for performed, it would be an extremely strange principle of law that subsequent to the contract being performed, you are asking for a minority vote and if the minority doesn't approve it with the requisite majority, you can cause a cancellation or you can cause even damages being raised by the counterparty. So that could become a very serious problem in terms of contract law.
SEBI's Clause 49 has also introduced new requirements for material unlisted subsidiaries. Material being defined as that in which the parent's investment exceeds 20% of its net worth or that which contributes 20% to the parent's consolidated income. The new provisions include at least one independent director of holding company to be present on the subsidiary's board and the audit committee of listed holding company to review financial statements and investments of the subsidiary.
Overseeing the business will mean the parent company getting involved to a much greater extent, actually to passing judgment on the business decisions that are taken in those subsidiaries. And how that fits in with the law that says that each company has its own board and its own shareholders and is run as a separate entity is not at all clear. Yes, of course, the overall parent-subsidiary relationship means that the parent has influence. Now, if, for example, a subsidiary said to a parent that we want to go into a particular line of business or a contract, and we think that it's a good business risk, there are good prospects of profits, but we need to borrow a large amount of money in the subsidiary, is it possible for the parent board to say that, evaluate that and say that no, you can't go ahead with it? Now, that can give rise to all kinds of conflicts immediately.
In 2012, executives were paid 85 times compared to their average employee, reveals a study by proxy advisory firm IIAS. In promoter-run Sensex companies, the median ratio was 190 times. The Companies Act 2013 requires companies to disclose remuneration of directors and key managerial personnel. It also requires listed companies to disclose the ratio of the remuneration of each director to the median employee's remuneration. Clause 49 takes this disclosure requirement one step further. Listed companies will now have to disclose all elements of remuneration package of individual directors, namely salary, benefits, bonuses, stock option details, pensions, service contracts, notice period, severance fees, etc.
In other countries where this has been implemented, it has also resulted in certain unintended consequences. So, for example, there has been studies in the United States, for instance, which suggest that the more you have disclosure of executive compensation, it drives the market for compensation further up, which was not something that governance specialists had thought of when this was suggested. And if you take some other markets, there has been issues regarding whether this is competitive information that may be sensitive from a human resources hiring perspective. So putting this information out in the markets may also create certain unintended consequences.
These were the top 3 impact areas where SEBI has raised the bar for the listed company universe. There's one more important change that most people have come to terms with, but it still requires a special mention, and that has to do with the tenure of independent directors. The Companies Act gives independent directors 2 terms of 5 years each. SEBI's Clause 49 says an independent director who has already served on a company's board for 5 years can serve only one more term of 5 years. It also places restriction on the number of boards they can sit on and requires them to offer reasons in the event of a resignation. There are stricter conditions for audit committees too. Companies Act requires majority of the members to be independent. Clause 49 increases it to 2/3. To implement this new avatar of Clause 49, Corporate India, you have time till October 1st. In Mumbai, Payaswini Upadhyay.
All right, that's SEBI's new Clause 49, the top 3 changes. We're going to slip into a quick break on the firm. When we come back, will the global merger of cement giants Holcim and Lafarge face a tax bill here in India?